TGV is France's intercity high-speed rail service, operated by SNCF, the national rail operator. It was developed in the 1970s by GEC-Alsthom and SNCF, originally designed as turbotrains to be powered by gas turbines. The prototypes evolved into electric trains with the 1973 oil crisis. Following the inaugural service between Paris and Lyon in 1981 on the LGV Sud-Est, the network, centered on Paris, has expanded to connect main cities across France and in adjacent countries on combinations of high-speed and conventional lines. A TGV test train set the record for the fastest wheeled train, reaching 574.8 km/h on the 3rd of April 2007. In mid-2011, scheduled TGV trains operated at the highest speeds in conventional train service in the world, regularly reaching 320 km/h on the LGV Est, LGV Rhine-Rhône, and LGV Mediterranee. According to Railway Gazette reports in 2007, the world's fastest scheduled rail journey was a start-to-stop average speed of 279.4 km/h between Gare de Champagne-Ardenne and Gare de Lorraine, on the LGV Est line, not surpassed until Railway Gazette's 2013 reported average of 283.7 km/h express service on the Shijiazhuang-Zhengzhou segment of China's Shijiazhuang-Wuhan high-speed railway. The commercial success of the first LGV, the LGV Sud-Est, led to an expansion of the network to the south and new lines in the west, north, and east. Eager to emulate the TGV's success, neighboring countries Italy, Spain, and Germany developed their own high-speed rail services. The TGV system itself extends to neighboring countries, either directly or through TGV derivative networks linking France to Belgique, Germany, and the Netherlands, as well as France and Belgium to the United Kingdom. Several future lines are planned, including extensions within France and to surrounding countries. Cities such as Tours have become part of a TGV commuter belt around Paris. In 2007, SNCF generated profits of €1.1 billion, driven largely by higher margins on the TGV network. History. The idea of the TGV was first proposed in the 1960s, after Japan had begun construction of the Shinkansen in 1959. At the time, the French government favored new technology, exploring the production of hovercraft and the aerotrained air cushion vehicle. Simultaneously, SNCF began researching high-speed trains on conventional tracks. In 1976, the government agreed to fund the first line. By the mid-1990s, the trains were so popular that SNCF President Louis Gallois declared TGV the train that saved French railways development. It was originally planned that the TGV, then standing for Très Grande Vitesse, a turbine grande vitesse, would be propelled by gas turbines, selected for the small size, good power-to-weight ratio and ability to deliver high power over an extended period. The first prototype, TGV-001, was the only gas turbine TGV. Following the increase in the price of oil during the 1973 energy crisis, gas turbines were deemed uneconomic and the project turned to electricity from overhead lines generated by new nuclear power stations. TGV-001 was not a wasted prototype. Its gas turbine was only one of its many new technologies for high-speed rail travel. It also tested high-speed brakes, needed to dissipate the large amount of kinetic energy of a train at high speed aerodynamics, and signaling. It was articulated, i.e., Two adjacent carriages shared a bogie, allowing free yet controlled motion with respect to one another. It reached 318 km/h, which remains the world speed record for a non-electric train. Its interior and exterior were styled by British-born designer Jack Cooper, whose work formed the basis of early TGV designs, including the distinctive nose shape of the first power cars. Changing the TGV to electric traction required a significant design overhaul. The first electric prototype, nicknamed Zebulon, was completed in 1974, testing features such as innovative body mounting of motors, pantographs, suspension and braking. Body mounting of motors allowed over 3 tons to be eliminated from the power cars and greatly reduced the unsprung weight. The prototype traveled almost 1 million kilometers during testing. In 1976, the French government funded the TGV project, and construction of the LGV Sud-Est, the first high-speed line, began shortly afterwards. The line was given the designation LN1, Line Nouvelle 1, after 2 pre-production train sets had been tested and substantially modified. The first production version was delivered on the 25th of April 1980. Service: the LGV opened to the public between Paris and Lyon on the 27th of September 1981. Contrary to its earlier fast services, SNCF intended TGV service for all types of passengers, with the same initial ticket price as trains on the parallel conventional line, to counteract the popular misconception that the TGV would be a premium service for business travelers. SNCF started a major publicity campaign focusing on the speed, frequency, reservation policy, normal price, and broad accessibility of the service. This commitment to a democratized TGV service was enhanced in the Mitterrand era with the promotional slogan, "Progress means nothing unless it is shared by all." The TGV was considerably faster than normal trains, cars, or aeroplanes. The trains became widely popular, the public welcoming fast and practical travel. The Eurostar service began operation in 1994, connecting continental Europe to London via the Channel Tunnel and the LGV Nord Europe, with a version of the TGV designed for use in the tunnel and the United Kingdom. The first phase of the British High-Speed 1 line, or Channel Tunnel Rail Link, was completed in 2003, the second phase in November 2007. The fastest trains take 2 hours 15 minutes London-Paris and 1 hour 51 minutes London-Brussels. Milestones: the TGV was the world's 4th commercial and 3rd standard gauge high-speed train service, after Japan's Shinkansen, which connected Tokyo and Osaka from the 1st of October 1964, the Russian ER-200 around 1974, and Britain's Intercity 125 on main lines such as the East Coast Main Line, which entered service in 1976. The TGV holds the world speed record for conventional trains. On the 3rd of April 2007, a modified TGV POS train reached 574.8 km/h under test conditions on the LGVS between Paris and Strasbourg. The line voltage was boosted to 31 kV, and extra ballast was tamped onto the right-of-way. The train beat the 1990 world speed record of 515.3 km/h, set by a similarly shortened train, along with unofficial records set during weeks preceding the official record run. The test was part of an extensive research program by Alstom. In 2007, the TGV was the world's fastest conventional scheduled train. One journey's average start-to-stop speed from Lorraine TGV to Champagne-Ardenne TGV is 279.3 km/h. This record was surpassed on the 26th of December 2009 by the new Wuhan-Guangzhou Guangzhou high-speed railway in China, where the fastest scheduled train covered 922 km at an average speed of 312.54 km per hour. However, on the 1st of July 2011, in order to save energy and reduce operating costs, the maximum speed of Chinese high-speed trains was reduced to 300 km per hour, and the average speed of the fastest trains on the Wuhan-Guangzhou high-speed railway was reduced to 272.68 km per hour, slower than the TGV. A Eurostar train broke the record for the longest non-stop high-speed international journey on the 17th of May 2006, carrying the cast and filmmakers of the Da Vinci Code from London to Cannes for the Cannes Film Festival. The 1,421-kilometer journey took 7 hours 25 minutes. The fastest long-distance run was by a TGV-It SEAU train from Calais-Fréthun to Marseille in 3 hours 29 minutes for the inauguration of the LGV Mediterranee on the 26th of May 2001. Passenger usage on the 28th of November 2003. The TGV network carried its 1 billionth passenger, a distant second only to the Shinkansen's 5 billionth passenger in 2000. Excluding international traffic, the TGV system carried 98 million passengers during 2008, an increase of 8 million on the previous year. Rolling stock. TGVs have semi-permanently coupled articulated unpowered coaches, with Jacobs bogies between the coaches supporting both of them. Power cars at each end of the trains have their own bogies. Trains can be lengthened by coupling two TGVs, using couplers hidden in the noses of the power cars. The articulated design is advantageous during a derailment, as the passenger carriages are more likely to stay upright and in line with the track. Normal trains could split at couplings and jackknife, as seen in the Eschede train disaster. A disadvantage is that it is difficult to split sets of carriages. While power cars can be removed from trains by standard uncoupling procedures, specialized depot equipment is needed to split carriages by lifting the entire train at once. Once uncoupled, one of the carriage ends is left without a bogie at the split, so a bogie frame is required to support it. There are about 550 TGVs of 7 types: SNCF, GEC Sud-Est and GEC La Poste, SNCF, GEC Atlantique, SNCF, GEC It SEAU, Eurostar, SNCF, GEC TMSD, SNCF, GEC Duplex, Thales PBA and PBKA, SNCF, GEC POS, SNCF, GEC 2N2. Several TGV types have broken records, including the V150 and TGV 001. V150 was a specially modified 5-car double-deck train set that reached 574.8 km per hour under controlled conditions on a test run. It narrowly missed beating the world train speed record of 581 km per hour. The record-breaking speed is impractical for commercial trains due to motor overcharging, empty train weight, rail and engine wear issues, elimination of all but 3 coaches, excessive vibration, noise and lack of emergency stopping methods. TGVs travel at up to 320 km per hour in commercial use. All are at least bi-current, which means that they can operate at 25 kV 50 Hz AC in at 1.5 kV DC. Trains to Germany, Switzerland, Belgium and the Netherlands must accommodate other voltages, requiring tri-current and quadri-current TGVs. TGVs have 2 pairs of pantographs, 2 for AC use and 2 for DC. When passing between between areas of different supply voltage. Marker boards remind the driver to turn off power, lower the pantograph, adjust a switch to select the appropriate system, and raise the pantograph. Pantographs and pantograph height control are selected automatically based on the voltage system chosen by the driver. Once the train detects the correct supply, a dashboard indicator illuminates and the driver can switch on the traction motors. The train coasts across the boundary between sections. TGV Sud-Est. The Sud-Est fleet was built between 1978 and 1988 and operated the first TGV service from Paris to Lyon in 1981. There are 107 passenger sets, of which 9 are tri-current and the rest bi-current. There are 7 bi-current half sets without seats that carry mail for Le Poste between Paris, Lyon and Provence, in a distinctive yellow livery. Each set is made up of 2 power cars and 8 carriages, including a powered bogie in the carriages adjacent to the power cars. They are 200 meters long and 2.81 meters wide. They weigh 385 tons with a power output of 6,450 kilowatts under 25 kilovolts. The sets were built to run at 270 kilometers per hour, but most were upgraded to 300 kilometers per hour during midlife refurbishment in preparation for the opening of the LGV Mediterranean. The few sets that still have a maximum speed of 270 km per hour operate on those routes that include a comparatively short distance on LGV, such as to Switzerland via Dijon. SNCF did not consider it financially worthwhile to upgrade the speed for a marginal reduction in journey time. TGV Atlantique. The 105-strong bi-current Atlantique fleet was built between 1988 and 1992 for the opening of the LGV Atlantique, and entry into service began in 1989. They are 237.5 meters long and 2.9 meters wide. They weigh 444 tons, and are made up of 2 power cars and 10 carriages with a capacity of 485 seats. They were built with a maximum speed of 300 km per hour and 8,800 kilowatts of power under 25 kilovolts. The efficiency of the Atlantique with all seats filled has been calculated at 767 mpg, though with a typical occupancy of 60% it is about 460 mpg. Modified Unit 325 set the world speed record in 1990 on the LGV before its opening. Modifications such as improved aerodynamics, larger wheels and improved braking were made to enable speeds of over 500 km per hour. The set was reduced to 2 power cars and 3 carriages to improve the power-to-weight ratio, weighing 250 tons. 3 carriages, including the bow carriage in the center, is the minimum possible configuration because of the articulation. TGV RE-Acute SEAU. The first RE-Acute SEAU set sent its service in 1993. 50 bi-current sets were ordered in 1990, supplemented by 40 tri-current sets in 1992-1993. 10 tri-current sets carried Thales livery and are known as Thales PBA sets, as well as using standard French voltages. The tri-current sets can operate under the Netherlands 1.5 kV and Italian and Belgian 3 kV DC supplies. They are formed of 2 power cars and 8 carriages, giving a capacity of 377 seats. They have a top speed of 320 km per hour. They are 200 meters long and are 2.90 meters wide. The bicurrent sets weigh 383 tons. Owing to axle load restrictions in Belgium, the tricurrent sets have a series of modifications, such as the replacement of steel with aluminium and hollow axles, to reduce the weight to under 17 t per axle. Owing to early complaints of uncomfortable pressure changes when entering tunnels at high speed on the LGV Atlantique, the RE-acute SEAU sets are now pressure-sealed. They can be coupled to a duplex set. Eurostar. The Eurostar train is essentially a long TGV, modified for use in the United Kingdom and in the Channel Tunnel. Differences include a smaller cross-section to fit within the constrictive British loading gauge, British-designed asynchronous traction motors, and extensive fireproofing in case of fire in the Channel Tunnel. They also have yellow front panels, which are required for all trains operating on track owned by Network Rail, a high-speed one in the UK. In the UK they are called Class 373. In the planning stages they were called Transmanche Supertrain. They were built by GEC-Alsthom in La Rochelle, Belfort and Washwood Heath, entering service in 1993. Two types were built: 3 capital sets, consisting of 2 power cars and 18 carriages, including 2 with 1 powered bogie each, and north of London sets, with 14 carriages. They consist of 2 identical half sets that are not articulated in the middle, so that in case of emergency in the Channel Tunnel one half can be uncoupled and leave the tunnel. Each half set is numbered separately. 38 full sets plus 1 spare power car were ordered, 16 by SNCF, 4 by SNCB, NMBS, and 18 by British Rail, of which 7 were north of London sets. Upon privatisation of British Rail by the UK government, the BR sets were bought by London and Continental Railways, whose subsidiary Eurostar Limited was managed by a consortium of National Express, SNCF, SNCB, NMBS and British Airways from 1998 to 2010. Following the merger of the separate Eurostar operators on 1 September 2010, ownership of all jointly owned sets transferred to the parent company, Eurostar International Limited. The sets operate at a maximum speed of 300 km/h, with the power cars supplying 12,240 kilowatts of power. The 3 capital sets are 394 meters long and have 766 seats, weighing 752 tons. The north of London sets have 558 seats. All are at least tricurrent and are able to operate on 25 kV 50 Hz AC, 3 kV DC on lines Classics in Belgium and 750 volts DC on the UK former Southern Region Third Rail network. The third rail equipment became obsolete in 2007 when the second phase of High-Speed 1 was brought into use between London and the Channel Tunnel, which uses 25 kV 50 Hz AC. 5 of the 3 capital sets owned by SNCF are quadricurrent and are able to operate on French lines Classics at 1500 volts DC. 3 of the 3 capital sets owned by SNCF are in French domestic use and carry the silver and blue TGV livery. The north of London sets, intended to provide regional Eurostar services from continental Europe to UK cities north of London using the West Coast and East Coast main lines, have never seen regular international use. Budget airlines in the UK offered lower fares. A few of the sets were leased to GNER for use on some services from London King's Cross to York and Leeds, with 2 carrying its dark blue livery. The lease ended in December 2005 and a year later the same sets were a working SNCF SNCF services to Calais in Eurostar livery, albeit with the Eurostar branding and yellow front panels removed. The chief executive of Eurostar, Richard Brown, suggested that the trains could be replaced by double-deck trains similar to the TGV duplex when they're withdrawn. A double-deck fleet could carry 40 million passengers per year from Britain to continental Europe, equivalent to adding an extra runway at a London airport. Eurostar has higher security measures than other TGVs. Luggage is screened and passengers are required to check in 30 minutes before departure. Because the UK is not part of the Schengen area, and because France and Belgium are not part of the Common Travel Area, passengers are subject to immigration checks. These take place before passengers board the train, so officials from the UK Visas and Immigration are stationed in France and Belgium, with the French counterparts stationed in the UK. TGV duplex. The duplex was built to increase TGV capacity without increasing train length or the number of trains. Each carriage has 2 levels, with access doors at the lower level taking advantage of low French platforms. A staircase gives access to the upper level, where the gangway between carriages is located. There are 512 seats per set. On busy routes such as Paris-Marseille, they are operated in pairs, providing 1,024 seats in 2 duplex sets or 800 in a duplex set plus a réseau set. Each set has a wheelchair-accessible compartment. After a lengthy development process starting in 1988, the original batch of 30 was built between 1995 and 1998. Further deliveries started in 2000, with the duplex fleet now totaling 160 units, making it the backbone of the SNCF TGV fleet. They weigh 380 tons and are 200 meters long, made up of 2 power cars and 8 carriages. Extensive use of aluminium means that they weigh not much more than the TGV-It SEAU sets they supplement. The bi-current power cars provide 8,800 kilowatts, and they have a slightly increased speed of 320 kilometers per hour. Thales PBKA. Unlike Thales PBA sets, the PBKA sets were built exclusively for Thales. They are technologically similar to TGV duplex sets, but single-deck. They are quadri-current, operating under 25 kV 50 Hz AC, 15 kV 16 and 2/3 Hz AC, 3 kV DC in 1.5 kV DC. Their top speed is 300 km per hour under 25 kV, with 2 power cars supplying 8,800 kilowatts. When operating under 15 kV, power output drops to 3,680 kilowatts, resulting in a very poor power-to-weight ratio in German high-speed lines. They have 8 carriages and are 200 meters long, weighing a total of 385 tons. They have 377 seats. 17 trains were ordered, 9 by SNCB and MBS, 6 by SNCF and 2 by NS. Deutsche Bahn contributed to financing 2 of the SNCB and MBS sets. TGV POS are used on the LGV Est. They consist of 2 duplex power cars with 8 TGV-It SEAU type carriages, with a power output of 9,600 kilowatts and a top speed of 320 kilometers per hour. Unlike TGV-It, TGV-R and TGV-D, they have asynchronous motors, and isolation of an individual motor is possible in case of failure. TGV-2N2. The bi-current 2N2 can be regarded as the 4th generation of duplex. The series was commissioned from December 2011 for links to Germany and Switzerland and to cope with the increased traffic due to the opening of the LGV Rhine Road. grown. They are numbered from 800 and are limited to 320 km per hour. ERTMS makes them compatible to allow access to Spain in support d'ASI. TGV technology outside France. TGV technology has been adopted in a number of other countries. Avenue in Spain, Thalys in Belgium, the Netherlands and Germany, Korea Train Express in South Korea, British Rail Class 373 in Great Britain, Acela Express, a high-speed tilting train built by TGV participant Bombardier for the United States. The Acela uses several TGV technologies including the motors, electrical, drivetrain system, truck structure and disc brakes, and crash energy management technology to control structural deformations in accidents. However, the Acela's tilting, non-articulated carriages are derived from the Bombardier's Canadian LRC trains and custom-built for U.S. Federal Railroad Administration crash standards. The Moroccan government agreed to a €2 billion contract for Alsthom to build an LGV between Tangier and Casablanca, to be operational in 2015. The Buenos Aires-Rosario Córdoba high-speed railway in Argentina will have TGV duplex trains, running at 320 km per hour. Italian open-access high-speed operator Nuovo Trasporto Viaggiatori has signed up with Alsthom to purchase 25 AGV-11 car sets for delivery starting in 2009. Future TGVs. SNCF and Alsthom are investigating new technology that could be used for high-speed transport. The development of TGV trains is being pursued in the form of the Automotrice Grande Vitesse high-speed multiple unit with motors under each carriage. Investigations are being carried out with the aim of producing trains at the same cost as TGVs with the same safety standards. AGVs of the same length as TGVs could have up to 450 seats. The target speed is 360 km per hour. The prototype AGV was unveiled by Alsthom on 5 February 2008. Italian operator.It is the first customer for the AGV, and intends to become the first open-access high-speed rail operator in Europe, starting operation in 2011. In the short term, plans have been considered to increase the capacity of TGVs by 10% by replacing the central two power cars of a double TGV with passenger carriages. These carriages would have motorized bogies as to the first and last carriage of the train to make up for the lost power.